Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Tyler's Yarns. Today we got a cool guest that I've been wanting to get on for a long time. The biggest nostalgia hunter in Australia. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Mitchell. I'm one part of the Retro Rescuers, my other half being Erin. Sadly, she's at home doing some work today. She couldn't come along, but I'm here to fill in for her. But yeah, we pretty much hunt down anything nostalgic and try and get our grubby little fingers on it and have some fun with it, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Just wanted to touch on how you started this whole journey, because you've obviously popped up on my radar for the last few years, and I just wanted to know how you've gone from the start to now.
Yeah, so it's been a long journey.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it for?
Oh, for years. I can't really put a number on it. Professionally, I still don't even like using that word. Probably like 6 years. But I've been an op shop fiend and a retro video game sort of collector since early high school. Yeah. So I'm 32 now, so more than half my life. But when I was growing up, my parents are both factory workers, so it wasn't too much money coming into the household. So a lot of op shop trips with my mum. Sort of when everyone had the PlayStation, I had the Sega Master System, so we're going to the op shop and cashies and buying the old Sega games and things like that. So a lot of my collection, luckily enough, in my lifetime has all been purchased pre-coolness. But yeah, since then I've been addicted to it. I jumped into the normal workforce, so I worked at a few retro video game stores and things like that. Game traders.
Did you learn a lot working in those sort of stores?
I think the main thing I learned while working in Game Traders was in Queensland. Shout out Game Traders, shout out Craig. They're still going strong.
The plug?
Yeah, they sadly don't sell retro video games anymore. They've transferred into board games and tabletop games and things like that and pop vinyls. But the main thing I learned while working there, not necessarily the value of things and stuff like that, but I learned a lot about the customer base and how an individual's perception of an item creates the value. So a game that's worth $20, if someone has a lot of nostalgic value on it, to them, they're willing to spend $60. So that was the main thing I learned, is it's not necessarily about how much the item's worth, it's how much an item is worth to a person, which is kind of hard these days with so many places, sort of making the value. So that was a big thing, learning a customer base. But after that, I moved to Melbourne after moving back to my hometown of Mackay, and I'll jump back to that. So I was working in Brisbane. Some things fell through for me there, and then I went back to my hometown in Mackay and was living with...
Where's Mackay?
So Mackay's in a little bit south of Townsville and around 10 hours north of Brisbane. So not so much North Queensland, but in that sort of area. But I'm actually from a place a little bit out of Mackay called Walkerston, 4751, Scrubby, represent. A little small sort of country, hickey, hillbilly town, but it's a place I call home. And so I moved back there after Brisbane, after working at Game Traders, and I ended up working in the factory with my parents, and I was going through some really bad times. I was pretty much living in my dark room, watching reruns of The Nanny, The Nanny, Fran Fine, shout out Fran Fine, eating Eagle Boys pizza every day, and just in a really shitty situation. And I started making YouTube videos and stuff, mucking around, and my good friend Justin Hart, JB Hart, incredible filmographer, he hit me up and said, man, you should move to Melbourne and we should start trying to do some things together, a little bit of entertainment stuff. So the next day, went into work, quit halfway through, packed my car, drove to Melbourne and lived on his couch for 6 months.
And so he was already living here?
He was living here. He wasn't so much doing what he's doing now, but he was looking to jump into that world. And then I met Erin, and shout out to Erin, my beautiful wife, because when she met me, I was actually living on my friend's floor, probably around this space, and I had a random sheet along the fireplace, so when he had guests walking through, they couldn't see me sleeping on his floor. And we went on a couple of dates, and she ended up telling me to come move in with her. And she was living in Toorak at the time, which I didn't realize was the hoity-toity snob place. So, yeah, I'm thankful to have met her. And after that, we got married and then started this journey of Retro
How
Rescuers.
long have you guys been together?
We've been married for 2.5 years, I believe. Sorry, baby, if I've got that wrong. But we've been together nearly 5 now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been quick, but when you know, you know.
Yeah, when you know, you know.
Yeah, so essentially, yeah, Retro Rescuers sort of bloomed from that. We just sort of started hitting the shops and things.
Did you teach sort of Aaron a lot about the video game stuff, or were you the one sort of taking the lead with like?
At the start, I definitely took the lead in hitting the op shops and stuff, but I was working a part-time job here still, so it wasn't my full-on job as of yet. So I was working at EB Games. Yeah. It's a bit of a funny story. While working at EB Games, they sort of caught on to my social media of like me showing off my finds, and I was selling pop vinyls and video games, and I actually got called into the head office and they said, you can't be doing that and working for EB Games because it's a conflict of interest.
What?
Yeah, really weird. It was really strange. So they pretty much
bullshit.
gave me, they gave me the ultimatum. They said, stop selling the same things as the place you work or you'll have to go. And but they were nice about it. During that meeting, they actually offered me a higher position with a bit more pay and things if I stopped that. And I was like, nah, see you later. So I had to write a note stating that it was my choice to quit and sign it, give it to them. And that day was scary because I've got no job now. Yeah. And so I went home and Aaron said, well, you got to step it up and try and make this side hustle work. And ever since then, maybe 1.5 years after that, 2 years, Aaron quit her job. And she sort of took over the books and things like that. She kept it legit for me because I'm a half-wit. I don't know any of that stuff.
That's all the bad stuff about business that people don't talk about. The bookkeeping, like you become a man of many hats. Yeah,
it sucks, man. Especially when like your first 2 years of doing it and then you get your first accountant and they're like, oh, you actually owe like $8,000.
GST or whatever.
Or whatever, And you're like, oh, God, okay. And then by the time you pay that off, there's another bill. And so it is a hard industry to be a part of. I'm sure you understand yourself. Like you've sort of jumped in the deep end, even more so than me with rent and things like that.
Staff.
Yeah.
It's all just like another thing.
Layer upon layer.
Layer upon layer.
Yeah, see.
It just gets deeper and deeper every time. Like as soon as you keep growing, like there's new stuff you got to learn. There's new things you got to like think about.
New things you got to pay for constantly.
It's all just money all the time.
Non-stop. See, like when I first started this, I had a full-time job. So I was like hustling this little like retro video game thing on the side, making like bank and going, yeah, this is sick, cash. And then when you quit the real job and do this, it's like, it takes a lot of the play out of it. Yeah.
It's pretty scary when you're like, this is what I'm going to do. Then it's all on you. It's not.
Definitely.
You can't make excuses.
Yeah, especially when you got to pay the bills and your rent and pay your car off. See, like the main reason I sort of jumped into this was because of just how much I hated the normal work life because it took so much of my time away from projects and stuff that I like doing.
Would rather do.
Yeah, so if you watch our stuff, obviously you do. Aaron and I, before business owners, I consider us entertainers.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much like every... even us, we're a media company. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we don't sell vintage.
No, you sell a fun dream. You know, like
either entertainment or like education about vintage. Like that's what we sell to people.
Yeah, it's deadly, man. It's awesome. It's a great way to be. Like I remember from the start, like what caught me with you guys was just your stupid little TikToks and things like that. You know, like
so where it's entertaining. You know, it's not. We're not trying to sell anything when we're doing TikToks. It's just like, oh, these are funny and they're about vintage. Like,
and not taking yourself too seriously because not to talk down on anyone or anything, but this industry, the vintage community, you'll notice a lot of people take it way too serious. Yeah. Like it's like someone's about to pull a gun out of their duffel bag and take you down because you're selling a shirt they like for too much and they want it or something. Like, you know, there's a lot of that going on in here. But
you start getting the old hate comments, hey?
Oh, that was my series. Sorry, guys. I thought I told her to be quiet. That's all right, baby, later.
Maybe later.
Yeah, maybe later, baby. But yeah, it's so important to have fun with it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think people take things too seriously. Like, oh, this should be this price. Like we were talking about it before, it's all on nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like people will pay anything for something that, like, I'd put up a T-shirt that I really like for a lot of money because I don't want it to sell.
Yep.
and that's just because I have nostalgia for it. So like a Rugrats tee or something like that. That's like old school.
Yeah,
that I like can relate to,
and it's your right.
Yeah.
It's yours. You can sell it for whatever you want, man. And that's the crazy thing is people get so mad about things being too expensive, and it's like, well, it's not necessarily too expensive. It's just for how much you want to pay. You're not willing to pay that. And if it was readily available for a super cheap price, you'd be over there. You wouldn't be hounding you for your Rugrats t-shirt.
That's
you know
what I mean. Where else are you going to find that t-shirt?
Yeah.
You know,
But
like, they only come every so often, even for us.
Yeah, just go to Cotton On.
Yeah.
Like if you want the cool Metallica t-shirt for $20,
$20, that will
go to Cotton
last
On.
2 months.
Yeah, just go there.
After a few washes.
Yeah.
What were some of the struggles that you went through going in that 2-year period? So you met Erin, you moved in, and then you started this business. She came into the business 2 years later.
Yeah.
What were some of the struggles in between all that time?
Because
that would have been a hard bit in your career, I guess.
Yeah, definitely, because there's a lot of doubt in yourself because you're pushing 30. You thought things were going to work out in other ventures and they haven't worked out. And then there's like a little bit of embarrassment there with your friends and your family. It's like, oh, what's Mitchell doing now? He's like, he stopped that other project and now he's moving on to this. And so I guess the hardest thing is not letting the eye rolls and everyone else's sort of opinions, and I don't want to say negativity because it's your friends and stuff and they're not necessarily negative on it. You can just feel that their energy and their support isn't necessarily there pushing you. It's sort of more like, are you sure you want to do that? That's going to be hard. You shouldn't probably do that. You can get a job doing this or that, like those sort of things, which it comes from a place of love and care, I'm sure. But when you got a weird brain like mine and I can't sit still and I've got to be doing projects and stuff, that's probably the hardest part is people's opinions and being able to not listen and not have an emotional reaction to a negative input on something that you're looking so forward to doing and accomplishing. Yeah.
What I found when we started our business, we went through the same thing. People were like, oh, they were concerned more than scared. And I'm just like, no, this is what I want to do. I don't care what you say.
Yeah,
like,
and it's also, I'm sure you're concerned enough for everyone. Like, you don't need extra concern.
Yeah, I'm already stressed out, and you're like now making this hard because I want to make something.
You're seeing
big.
the minus 120,000 or 50,000 in the bank that you've taken the loan out to start this. That you've already got the demons in your head saying this is a bad idea. Last thing you need.
The people that are closest to you sometimes,
yeah. Like I said, it doesn't come from a place of hate. It's from a place of concern, and you just got to, feel bad for them and go like, it sucks that you don't have the belief in yourself to try.
Well, I don't want to be stuck in a 9 to 5 working for someone else, is paying for someone else.
Well, if you
multi-million-dollar pace,
Well, if you don't like that, of course. But for me, sometimes I sit back and I think I envy it. I go, how cool would it be? Like, I loved my job at Game Traders, man. Like Monday, Friday, rock up at 9 o'clock. Have a breakfast sub, sell some video, go home, forget about it, get a paycheck. And then and that night you just play some video games, talk to your boys, hang out, smoke a few bowls or whatever. But then when it's your business, there's no no stopping. People say, I don't want to work 9 to 5 because I work too much, and then
you work even more when you don't work 9
stop.
to 5.
Yeah, man.
It's honestly crazy. People, I don't want to work 9 to 5, but then you're working 12, 13 hours then. And it's for yourself, and if it fails, it's on you.
Yeah, and like we were talking about before, we're paying ourselves $200 a week. Yeah, wearing our stock because we've got no money to buy clothes. You know what I mean?
I think there's a point where I was like lifeguarding, had to pay rent. Like
I reckon you'd look all right in a pair of Dick Togs. Yeah, I can see that.
TikTok, man. Yeah, but I was just like, I was honestly living off like $60 a week after everything. That was fun money. Yeah. I was like, I don't even know how I did it.
Buy a pizza and a couple of beers and you're done.
That was it. Yeah. And I couldn't even go out because I couldn't afford it. And I was like in my early 20s and I was like, fuck, I'm poor as.
Yeah, man. No, I feel it. I know. But you just got to keep going and not worry about all the stuff-ups along the line because, it'll work out if you put the effort in. Yeah.
But like you were talking about nostalgia before, like where does because your name's called like Nostalgia Hunters.
Yeah.
Like why?
Mainly because like you'll notice a lot of other people that sort of, I don't like the term reseller. A lot of people like refer to us as like, oh, some of Australia's best resellers. And then I hate that word because it's like, I don't know. I just don't vibe with that being a reseller. So I consider us Nostalgia Hunters because you'll notice when we find items, I'm hyped on the story behind it, what it means to me or my partner, and that's the value I see in it. You'll notice I never really talk about, like, when I find something and go, this is worth $300. I don't usually go on about the price. I'll mainly go on about the story. But yeah, like, we're definitely all about the nostalgia. I'll talk about a $30 Sega Mega Drive game for an hour before I sit there and talk about the $3,000 Grail T, Rap T or something, because it doesn't hold a special part in my heart. And I think it comes across a little bit phony. I try to be very much myself, and I've tried to do it before. I've tried to, like, talk about, I'll admit it, I try to talk about things that I'm not necessarily that passionate about because it's trending.
Yeah.
And then I end up just deleting it. Like, I don't ever post it because I'm just like, that's not you. You can tell that the love for it isn't there. Yeah. So I learned that lesson early on. But yeah, definitely all about the nostalgia. Yeah,
what was it? I have a good story, actually. So when I first started getting into vintage, there was this NBC jacket with the big embroidery here on the front. And then a few weeks ago, one came in that was just like an NBC t-shirt, navy, and I was like, this holds so much more value to me than, like, any of these items in this whole warehouse, because that was, like, one of the first items I found that was, like, NBC Sport. Like, that's what got
You're
me
all
into
about it, yeah.
That's what got me into vintage. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, that, something like that holds a lot more value to me than, I don't know, like the grails that you're saying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. It's all about, because you got to remember, like, to certain people who have a lot of money, a $3,000 t-shirt is the same as, like, a $50 t-shirt for us. So the monetary thing of it needs to not even be, like, really thought about. And for you, like, obviously you find that one item that started it all for you, you'll probably drain the bank account to get it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'd pay $3,000 for something like that, whereas obviously not worth that much money. It's probably worth like $50 or $60, but that's what I'd pay because that's how big nostalgia is.
Definitely, man. And if you've got, like, a memory attached to that, you'll go gaga for it.
And especially when I own a vintage store now, and that was a massive part in.
And all you see all day, every day is probably grail after grail and these and that. And
sports team. And then it's like the one thing you see, you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm about.
They brought me back to all, like, the memories of, like, going to my first, like, op shops. And,
It's something special, like something we found. You were asking me earlier, like, what's a really nostalgic item I found that I was super psyched on. If you do follow us on Instagram and watch our stories and stuff, I love finding items that I have family photos of me with them.
That's so good.
And not too long ago, I found these generic, they're just alien head satin boxer shorts from Target, but like 95, 94 type era. And when I found them, they're probably worth $10. But it made my whole day. I went and found the photo of me at my, like, 4th grade birthday party with my friends, like, wearing, like, the boxer shorts. And I was just like, that's the boxers. Like, how did I find this such a generic, nothing item, but it means so much to me. And you couldn't buy them off me for $1,000. I'm keeping them.
That's
like,
what I mean.
You know what I mean?
Same with the t-shirt now. It's like mental.
I'm not letting them go.
Did you just go back to your parents' place and find the photo or something?
Oh, my mum and dad are pretty awesome. Like,
they keep everything.
Yeah, they keep everything, man. That's why we're like, that's why I am what I am. Like, my mother,
got the hoarders.
Yeah, she's a little bit of a drinker and a little bit of a hoarder, and they come from that real, like, factory worker life and. Live out in the middle of nowhere, a little bit hillbilly. So with hillbillies, they like to hold on to everything, old cars.
They always love
it, you walk into the house and you're just like, oh, God, shouldn't you have gotten rid of that by now? But
you got rid of that in the 90s?
Yeah. But I'm really thankful that...
I think, like, that would be so much better for you anyways, because you'd be, like, walking into this, like, time machine when you're walking into your house.
Every time. But it's like with my parents, they do a good job of putting it away. So a lot of it's under, like, my brother's bed in his old bedroom and cupboards and that full of, like, my old Sega stuff and everything. Because where Aaron and I live now, we don't really display collections and things. We literally live on top of stock, and our life is pretty hectic. But a lot of people reach out to me.
Like multiple boxes, don't you? You have like 30, 50, 60 boxes in your garage.
Of tubs and tubs and to-do lists and things. Because a lot of people reach out to us and go, oh, show us your Sega collection and this. And it's like, man, that's all at my mum's house in boxes. Like, I don't want to be I'm not proud enough of the room I'm living in or whatever to set up some big display and everything like that.
It'd be cool to do something like that though. Like, get it all together.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of time. Yeah. That's all it is.
And when you're not 100% sure on where you're staying for a long period of time, I don't really want to, you know, go to too much effort with that. But that's coming. I'm definitely going to do a deep dive. I was even thinking of doing a little series where I get my mum to send me one item a week, and then I sort of talk about it and show it off and a little bit of history behind it. Because I believe I've got a lot of stuff at home that what I pride myself on is finding those things that people have completely forgotten about, but once they see it, it's like, whoa, why did I forget about this, you know? So that's what I really try to play with is, you know, making you remember those memories you didn't know you have.
Yeah, the memories that are stored deep down.
Yeah, a little bit down there.
It's a lot better now that you live, because you used to live in the middle of the city in Melbourne, and then now you moved out to the suburbs.
Yeah, we're living in Box Hill South now.
Where were you holding all your stock when you were living in the city?
We had a warehouse, a little storage warehouse, but it was pretty annoying because it was an extra 45-minute commute every day. Yeah. And now we're blessed enough that I literally just walk out my back door and we've got an off-built sort of storage. It used to be like a granny flat, but it all got pulled out, and so it's just a big open room now. So every morning we just cruise out there, pack our orders,
so much
have
easier.
A coffee, you know, play with the cats, and then we're off to it. Yeah, it's pretty good right now. But I do miss the city. Like if I could go back, I'd go back in a heartbeat. It was beautiful. I loved it in there.
There's a lot more happening as well, which is nice.
Yeah, and it was just like a cool vibe to be there, you know. And when we were there, though, it was the hustle and bustle middle of the COVID stuff. Yeah. So like every day you're looking out your window and there's either a march or a bunch of army people walking around. So it was pretty dark for a bit. But then the tail end of that was loving it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was leading on to that, because they filmed you at your place. So 9 News or Current Affair filmed you at your place.
Yeah, that was at the new place.
That was at the new place, yeah.
Yeah, that was a funny one.
How was that experience for you?
Getting on the older Current Affair. Yeah, well, it was a good sign when they hit us up to come on it, because they were doing a, what would you call it, an episode or a segment on buying.
How long was the segment?
Oh, it would have been like a 10, 12-minute sort of segment, and they were basing it on the new trend of buying secondhand instead of new. So it was, they had a few people talking about electronics, like laptops and stuff. And then, we sort of focused on the collectibles, nostalgia, old video games, things like that. But that was awesome. One of the producers of it hit us up and said, we want to send the camera crew out there to have a talk and showcase some of your stuff. It was really exciting. And I just, the Current Affair thing was awesome because a lot of people from my family who don't really know what we do, when it was on there, it was like a good way of like saying to my mum and dad, see, I'm not sleeping on someone's floor. I'm not a drug addict. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm on a Current Affair, mum and dad. Like, you got to, it's okay. You know, you don't have to worry. But we didn't get paid for that or nothing, obviously. But it was,
shit.
Yeah, it was just a good thing to like a lot of people like
good exposure.
Show people what we did. And we were recently, it's so funny. We're in like all these nostalgic news sources because we were just in That's Life.
Yeah.
That's Life magazine. Do you know that magazine? Yeah. So we had a spread in there as well, pretty much about the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm loving it. Yeah.
So everything's going good.
Yeah, it's the direction we want to go in. Like I was saying to you earlier, Aaron and I mainly started a business, quit our jobs because our day jobs took a lot of time away from us from the entertainment side of things we like to do. Because Aaron's got a musical theatre background. Yeah. Incredible singer, Disney princess singer. I don't know if you've heard any of her stuff.
No, I haven't.
incredible, like stupid good.
Yeah.
Where to the point of annoying, like shut up. You know what I mean? Like when someone can sing really good and then they're singing,
in
it's
the
like,
shower, you're like,
it's like, come on, man, give it a break. You know, you're really good. But we really want to be entertainers in this world. So we want to make nostalgia hunting really fun and exciting. We want to get away from this is worth this much money. You should buy it for this. You know, we just want to tell the stories of things and that sort of stuff. And I'm excited to say that we've got some really awesome stuff in the background going on right now with a few important enough people that might be able to push us into like some form of network. So pitching a bit of a reel at the moment to a few networks to try and get some stuff afloat. So fingers crossed that happens. But yeah, that's our main interest and focus is to entertain.
Yeah. Do you have any so pretty much you get all the stuff from online and through the op shops, or just op shops?
No, definitely not op shops. Only op shops, sorry, I should say.
Yeah.
It's just the most interesting thing to talk about and show off. You know, we get that a lot. Like people would just be like saying, "Oh, how do you make such a big living just buying off op shops?" And it's like, I'm honest, I say I don't. You know, it's just the most interesting thing to show off. Like most of our stock is from private collectors who have had 30 years of collecting or whatever, and then they got baby on the way and they need their room cleared out, and the wife's saying, we'll go buy huge quantities, like, you know, $30,000-$40,000 worth of retro video games that might be worth 40% more or whatever, but that's how our main business model is.
Isn't that a true story? Didn't you buy like a whole bunch of video games, like 20,000 or something?
Oh, dude, we've bought crazy amounts of stuff off people before.
That was like recent, wasn't it?
The last big one, maybe like 3 months ago. Yeah, it was a couple of big ones lately. We've got 2 more huge lots that are coming up. A bunch of like old Jordan poster boards and stuff like that from the 90s Bull era, which I'm not that cluey with. That's probably a little bit more your road, but we're excited to show a bunch of new stuff coming up. We are going to be attending a Australia Flea. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
That's coming up in September.
Yeah, I think we
might
jump in. Coming to
We're
just going to come support it.
We've got a stall there that hopefully might have a bit of that new stock there. So if you are in the area, September 3rd, Footscray. I don't know the exact. But if you just look up Australia Flea on Instagram and things like that, it'll pop up. But yeah, we're really excited to be a part of that too, and get to show you guys, all the new stock we've been grabbing, and there's some really nice stuff in there, yeah.
Any tips for people trying to source vintage, or source not even vintage, like nostalgia games, or like, because even I saw on your story the other day, you were just like, oh, this book. Yeah, it's like, this is a good book. How do you know if it's a good book or not?
Look, that was
a good video game.
I just knew,
I'm like, how does he know this?
I think that one was like Trip to Town.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jeff Raggles book, who's like, he's done a bunch of Mambo art. But he used to do a bunch of like Paul Jennings sort of art. So I noticed the art, and then I flicked the page and it actually had his signature in it, I found when we got home. But yeah, those sort of books where I think the reason that was so expensive in my research is because I think he funded it all himself and done like one print.
Oh, yeah.
Probably at a book show or something like that. Don't quote me. It could have been a Big Dub or something, but I don't think so, going by the price. But yeah, there's no real way of knowing unless you know.
Yeah. So you just research all the time when you're in there? Or?
Well, I wouldn't call it research. It's more like fun, sitting on the couch instead of looking at TikToks. I'm looking at like, I just literally go filter, eBay, sold, toys, and then just like scroll for like a few hundred pages and just, I didn't realize they were trending and stuff like that.
But is that how you find trends as well? Through the eBay?
Yeah, I'll definitely, I try to calculate it all myself.
Yeah.
There is software out there that calculates it for you, but it's way too like integrated with
eBay, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also with Amazon and all these other ones, but it's way too US integrated. Like we're not getting the same value or more or less in the US than here. So it gets confusing.
It's a completely different market. Even for clothes, like stuff that sells in the US doesn't sell here. That's why they sell it to us.
Yeah. And it's like things like that are worth $10 in the US are worth $30 here, $40 here, because it's not everywhere.
Yeah.
So you've sort of got to, like, another big thing we deal with is Mambo store promotional art or store posters, or not necessarily the clothes, but the art and things from back in the day that would have been hanging up in the surf stores and things. And Australia has more than anywhere in the world, Mambo. So the value of it here isn't as high as places like the UK.
Now it's getting a bit more
America.
Valuable.
America, things like that. So like we just sold a cardboard print for close to $1,000. It's going off to the States. But you got Aussies messaging you, I'll give you $180. I'll give you $180. And you're like,
it's not really
man,
that much.
Yes, it doesn't work that way, sadly. Like I wish, but so
because it's more valuable over there compared to here. You know what I mean? It's like, we can't get that in.
Well, no one can just drive down. Like you get on Facebook Marketplace right now, I bet you there's at least 10 people in a 5K radius of here that have them for sale. Whereas overseas, They got to travel halfway around the world to find one thing. Yeah,
and who's someone who's willing to ship it.
Yeah,
because I was trying to find one of those Nike Directors chairs. So it was like $600 US plus if they're going to ship it or not.
Yeah, like, and then it's $300 to ship.
Yeah, and you're like, man. Yeah, and you don't know if it's going to come in broken or not broken. It's wild. Well.
Yeah, it's really hard, and you'll notice that it doesn't really matter how heavy it is or whatever. You're just going to get charged some crazy price anyway. So you just got to, if you want it bad enough, you just got to pay and shut up and not whinge about it. Really, yeah.
What was your biggest come up in the thrift?
Ooh, probably recently. Did you see when we went? Like we hit up all those Vinnies that day, and we found a bunch of
loves your Vinnies.
Yeah, we love Vinnies, man. Shout out Vinnies, bro. Like, we found all those like retro Atari games. Oh, yeah. We found Jawbreaker on the Atari, which is a pretty hard game to find these days. It's instead of just a generic black cartridge, it's like a bright red. It's got these big lips on it. It's like a little bit. I don't think people are buying it for the game. It's more so for like the rarity, and it's hard to find.
So lately, a display cabinet or something.
Yeah, recently that was probably the biggest day for us in the op shop.
Was that when you found the Atari actual console?
Yeah, we found the console, like all condition? The games. Yeah, we had a banger that day. I think we found like a Sega Mega Drive arcade fight stick. Yeah, it was glory because they just started their test and tag. Like they weren't selling electronics, and then we sort of got a little bit of knowledge that week was the time they were bringing it all from out the warehouses, all out the back, and setting it up in the stores. So that was a really good week that week. But yeah, the main reason, like you laughed about the Vinnies thing, is we really represent Vinnies.
Yeah. Well, they're the best out of the best in the business.
I think so.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Not only that, like in the early days, they were the only store that didn't whinge about me filming in it. Salvos, Savers.
They all get a bit like, this.
What are you doing? Oh, I'm just filming some things I'm finding and showing people online. Oh, you can't do, like, you know what I mean? Just so like negative and like, what are you always thinking you're doing something wrong? And it's like, bro, I'm literally just saying how good it's in here. I found this. Like, so
I'm literally helping your business right
now. I'm showing people what they can find. But Vinnies,
all like secondhand as well. It's like people donated these clothes. It's like, what are you getting angry about?
Yeah, like I don't understand. But those things make me question certain businesses because it's like, if you're so scared of someone filming something, what behind the scenes, what's being spoken about? Like, what are you scared of someone seeing? Or
maybe like power trips or something in the top of the business. But it's like, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and another thing, I don't really want to talk any, like, it's not bad, but Salvos, we had a run-in with this lady, man. And it was just a simple question. You know when you buy these pallets of vintage and they come and they've all got that crinkle because they've all been squished and you can tell from a mile away when you know what you know, and you look at a big rack of clothes and they've all got that crisp chip crinkle to them. And I went in there and I said, oh, you guys buying wholesale now? Just to friendly. It wasn't like, oh, you guys are buying it wasn't that at all. It wasn't like anything negative. And I just said, oh, cool, you guys are buying in bulk now to sell in the Salvos. Cool. Oh, no. Like, and she really got really mad at me for asking that. And I was like, I know these are wholesale. Like, why? And then she went on this big elaborate thing about some guy up the road donates all the stuff he doesn't want. And I'm thinking, nah, he wants this Nike jacket. Yeah. He wants all this, he wants the North Face jacket. He ain't donating that. Yeah. So that was a bit funny, but yeah, shout out Vinny's, always nice to us.
All branded tees, just like on the
just like $60 jackets and that. He's just giving them away. He's like, oh, he owns a vintage store, but he didn't want this stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Sweet. So we wrap it up. Do you want to give your plug? Instagram plug?
I'll plug it up. I'll look at this camera right here. So yeah, Retro Rescuers on Instagram. It's retro.rescuers, and you can check us out on YouTube as well. We've got a web series there where we go along to op shops and wherever we can and sort of find some nostalgia goodies and just speak about our memories and have a fun time. Yeah,
definitely the best in the business. Make sure you go to the you got the website as well, the Rotten.
Yeah, rottencotton.com.au, where you'll find most of our clothing. We don't really have too many collectibles on there at the moment, but you can always just reach out on our social medias and we'll hook you up.
Sweet, easy. Yeah.
Well, thank you, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me. Love it. Cheers.